Hi besties, it's Bree here and welcome back to This is the tutorial to make the Adina dress pattern, which is a super cute flowy summer dress that I'm obsessed with and it's so easy to make, so let's get started. To get started, you'll need fabric. I ended up using a different fabric than shown here because I wanted more stretch, so I used a two-way cotton stretch. Any fabric with a good two-way stretch will work, and I'm using 2 yards. You'll need the pattern, which is available in my Etsy storefront, and the link is listed below. Fabric weights, pins, fabric scissors, and scissors to cut your pattern, and a tape measurement. To start, we're going to lay out our printed sewing pattern, starting with page 1 and so forth. You're going to make sure the letters on the side of the page match up. So you'll see I'm matching up A to A, B to B, and you'll start to see the pattern form together. Because the pattern is about 18 pages, I like to lay out the first pages, cut them out, and then tape the pieces together, and then lay out the remaining pattern pieces once I have room. This just makes it easier to keep track of my pattern, as you will run out of room on a table because the pattern is a bit bigger. So you'll start to see me begin cutting out the pattern. When cutting out the pattern, ensure you're cutting on the second solid line, as this includes seam allowance in the pattern, and you're just going to follow that line and cut out all your pieces. You'll see I'm now taping the pieces together, and for the pieces that are complete once taped, I'm moving them to the side, and then I'm going to finish lining up the remaining pieces to cut out and tape them together. And then you'll see I'm working on the final pieces and taping all the pieces together, and then your pattern is all cut out and ready to go. Folding our fabric so it's right size together, we're going to begin cutting out the top, placing pattern A and pattern B on the fold. We're going to cut out one of each. And then once cut out, I'm just going to place a pin into both of them and set those to the side. Now doing the same with pattern E, we're going to place the pattern on the fold and cut out one of pattern E, which is the front skirt bottom piece. Moving on to pattern label F, which is the back skirt bottom, we're going to do the same. Place the fabric on the fold and cut one out. Next, I'm cutting out the front skirt top, which is the pattern label C, and I'm cutting out one on the fold as well. Since I started running out of fabric, I wasn't able to cut out pattern D, the back top skirt, out on the fold. So I'm laying the pattern down and flipping it over to make sure I have room to cut it out in one long piece. To help with accuracy, I use a pin to mark the top and bottom of the middle to make sure it flips over correctly, and then I just cut it out in one long piece. Now that our fabric is cut out, we're ready to start pinning our pieces together. We're going to start with the front, which has the V-cut seam line. So taking pattern piece A, the top front, and pattern piece E, the skirt front bottom, we're going to unfold these pieces and lay them right sides facing up. You'll see how the V-cut lines line up. Now we're going to take pattern piece C, the front skirt top, and we're going to open it up and lay it right sides up on top of the skirt bottom, which is pattern piece E. You'll then want to line up the top, front skirt, and bottom so the edges are aligned to make sure everything is straight. And that's what you'll see me doing here. I'm just pinning those two pieces of the bottom of this dress together just to keep it in line so that when I pin on the top part, it all remains straight. Once you have the bottom and top skirt pieces lined up, you're going to flip it over so that the wrong side is facing up. And then you're going to do the same with the top front piece. You're then going to match right sides together so the front piece and the skirt pieces are all pinned together. And you're going to pin all three fabrics together. You'll want to make sure it's right sides touching so that the seam is on the inside. You're going to pin all along the edges, combining the front of the dress. Once you finish pinning and you flip it over, the front of your dress is kind of complete. You can see it coming together. It will look like so. And then we're going to sew or serge along the edges we just pinned on the inside, and that will create our front piece. I'm sewing the pieces together first before serging so that I have better control of keeping the three fabric pieces together. As the fabric goes through the machine, I'm holding it tight to prevent it from slipping and just sewing along the edge. When I get to the center of the V cut, I'm taking my time and going slower to ensure I'm keeping all three pieces underneath the needle as I preserve my shape of the seam line. Once I finish sewing, I just serge over it to keep a neat seam line, but you don't have to, you can just keep it sewn. Moving on to the back of the dress, you should now have only three pattern pieces remaining. We're going to repeat exactly what we did on the front of the dress, now onto the back of the dress. So you're going to take your top back piece, open it up, and lay it right side up. Then taking the skirt back bottom, lay it right sides facing up, and then you're going to place the skirt front bottom on top of that piece with the skirt's front bottom right sides facing you. And then you're going to make sure all the pieces are aligned. Next, you'll see I'm folding the pieces in half to get my center point. So I'm doing first the top piece and I fold it in half and use a pin to mark the center. And then I'm going to do the same to the bottom skirt pieces. I do this to make sure the center is aligned when I piece all the pieces together. So I flip the top piece onto the skirt bottom piece so that right sides are touching together. Then using your needles, pin along the edge to combine all four of your pieces. So I start by using the center points that we just marked to begin pinning my pieces together to ensure I keep everything center and aligned. And then once you finish pinning, we're going to do the same as we did to the front. We're going to sew along the edges and then serge, and then we will have our front and back piece ready to go. I went ahead and already sewn together the pieces for the back of the dress as instructed earlier. So now we're ready to piece together the final part of the dress. Taking your front piece, you're going to flip it right side up and you'll see how it will look here once all the pieces are sewn together. And then you're going to take your back piece that you just finished sewing and lay it right sides down on top of the front of the dress so that the right sides are touching. And as you lay it on top of the front of the dress, you'll want to just make sure all the sides are aligned. And then we're going to pin down the sides. When you pin down the sides for the top of the dress, you're just going to pin the two sides together. When you get to the bottom of the dress that has the two layers on each side to make up the ruffled skirt, you're just going to want to make sure that you capture all four fabric pieces together and make sure they're all tucked in as you pin, because you're going to want to sew down the sides, making sure you sew down through all four fabric pieces. As you're pinning down, when you get to the center seam line where you sewed all of the pieces together, the seam line where you sew the top and the bottom together, you're going to want to make sure you match up the front seam line to the back seam line, just so that when your dress is finished, your seam lines look even and straight. And here you'll see I'm pinning down through all four of the fabrics as I mentioned, ensuring I'm capturing all four sides so that they're all tucked in underneath my pin, so they'll be underneath the sewing needle once I sew these pieces together. Now I'm just taking the dress to the serger and I'm just serging down all the sides we just pinned, which would be just both sides of the dress. And then as I'm serging, I'm sure to take my time as I go over that center seam and making sure it's nice and tight so that the center seam is aligned and it's not sliding. And then I'm just serging down all four sides of the bottom skirt portions and just keeping everything nice and aligned so that I'm sewing or serging through all four layers of fabric. Once you finish sewing or serging down the sides of your dress will look like so, and your dress is nearly complete. You can see how cute it is. And now all we have to do is just finish hemming the top and the bottom portion of the dress. So to begin hemming the dress, I went ahead and serged along all the edges. So for the top portion of the dress, after hemming the edges, I'm flipping the edges of the dress over about 1/2 inch, and then I'm pinning those sides down, and that will be my hem. For this, since this will go around the bust area and needs stretch, I'm going to use a zigzag stitch, but I'm going to do the same concept for the bottom of the dress to hem the skirt portion. I went ahead and serged the bottom of the skirts, and then I'm going to flip the edges of the skirt towards the inside and use about a 1/2 inch hem and then pin the edges down. But for the bottom of the skirt, since I don't have to worry about stretch, I'm going to use a straight stitch. And then once you finish sewing the hem on the top and the bottom, your dress will look like so. It's so cute. I love the two-tier skirt bottom. Let me know what you guys think of the pattern. Tag me on Instagram if you use the pattern. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.